The police have been very much in the news here in the United States recently, but police are an important factor in safety and lifestyle and well-being around the world, and we're very lucky to have with us today Steve Crabtree, one of our senior analysts at Gallup, who has recently been analyzing data from all over the world from our Gallup World Poll relating to views of local police. Tell us a little more about that, Steve.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. It's nice to be here. Yeah, we ask as part of our World Poll, which we conduct in over 150 countries, the following question. In your city or area, do you have confidence in the local police or not? So
local police.
It's very much about local
Real key.
police. Right, exactly. So we wanted to get an idea of where the U.S. falls among sort of developed world, rich world countries. So we took a look at results from the 34 OECD member states. So these are all sort of rich world countries with some form of democratic governance.
And explain to us what O means that you just told us about.
Okay, OECD is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. And like I said, it's a kind of a group of rich world countries that sort of come together to do policy studies and things like that. So you have to be kind of a developed society to be a member of OECD.
Okay.
So we looked at all 34 member states, and we found that a median of 74% of residents among the 34 countries say that they have confidence in their local police.
And this is a binary question, confidence,
right,
no
it's a
confidence.
yes-no question, and that's an important thing to point out because as I watched your clip from the other day about confidence in the police in the U.S., and the number is quite a bit lower in your question, which I think it was about 57%. One of the reasons for that is the question wording. That question doesn't ask about confidence in local police. It asks just about confidence in police. And as we see in a lot of questions like satisfaction with schools and things like that, people's confidence in their local conditions or satisfaction with local conditions tends to be higher than it is when they're talking about nationwide conditions.
Yeah, that's a very key point.
Yeah,
if you just say police in the U.S., ratings are lower than if you say local police.
Right.
So anyhow, where's the U.S. come in? For
so
these,
the U.S. Came in around the middle of the pack, 78% confident, which is a little bit higher than the median. Again, this is before all the current controversy in the U.S. We last asked the question in December 2013. So yeah, a little bit above the median.
Quickly, who comes out on top of these 30-some-odd countries? Where do they have the most confidence in the local police?
We saw two countries at the top of the list, with each with 91% confident in their local police. Those were Switzerland and Iceland.
Switzerland and Iceland.
Right, so two European countries, both obviously very well-developed countries with very low income inequality, relatively homogeneous population. So there's lots of factors that might help explain why confidence is so high in these countries. And I think those are some low levels of inequality is pretty high among them. And
at the bottom of the list?
At the bottom of the list is Mexico, and this is really the only OECD country that you might not consider a developed world country. 45% of Mexicans have confidence in their local police. Again, Mexico is a country with a high level of income inequality, so you have poor communities and rich communities, and other factors that make the crime rates in Mexico very high, like organized crime. So yeah, that's at the bottom of the list with less than half confident.
And speaking of the income issue, I know in your analysis within country, you looked at the relationship between a respondent's income and how much confidence they had in the police, and the findings were?
Yeah, absolutely. We found in 10 of the 34 OECD countries that poorer residents were significantly less likely than richer residents to say they have confidence in their local police. So, again, we see a situation that's very reminiscent of the kind of situation that spurred the Ferguson protests and everything like that. One of the most interesting countries we looked at, and the country where the gap between rich and poor is the highest, is Israel. And in Israel, you do have a situation that's a little bit reminiscent of African American and minority communities in the U.S., in that class and religion are very closely intertwined. So there are two religious groups, Muslims and Orthodox Jews, that tend to be very poor. So you have class and religion sort of reinforcing each other, and then they're policed often by members of the majority community. So they have to work really hard to maintain higher levels of trust between the police and community members.
Very interesting. Yeah. One last point, you did look overall country by country at the relationship between income, overall GDP, right, for the country, and confidence in the police. And it's a fairly linear relationship.
It is.
If you look at the graph.
Yeah. GDP per capita explains quite a bit of the variance in confidence in police. So the poorer an average income a country has, the less likely its residents are to have confidence. And again, this makes intuitive sense if you think about it. The rule of law promotes economic development. Say if you're a business owner, you're more likely to have confidence in starting or expanding a business if you don't have to face high crime rates, extortion by organized crime, and that kind of thing. And then economic growth helps promote the rule of law by giving governments more money to spend on police forces and salaries and things like that.
Very good. I think we've shown that graph here, but people at Gallup.com can see it in more depth, your analysis and what we find in the data from around the world.
Yeah.
Bottom line is the U.S., 78% confidence in local police, which is kind of the middle of the pack, slightly above the median. Is that right?
That's correct.
Very good. Steve Crabtree, one of our longtime brilliant analysts here at Gallup. It's a pleasure to have you here talking about what you found when you looked at these world data about confidence in local police.
Great. It's always a pleasure. Thanks.
That's it. I'm Frank Newport, Gallup Editor-in-Chief.